Most organizations that invest in internal AI think the hard part is building it. It's not. The hard part is getting people to actually use it, and that, at its core, is a communication problem. My name is Dwayne Lim. I'm a certified information systems security professional, CISSP, and I've built and deployed custom AI solutions inside organizations. What I want to talk about today is something I deal with directly: the gap between what an AI policy says and what people in an organization actually do. Here's a scenario that plays out in organizations more than people want to admit. A company invests in internal AI tools, dedicated system, controlled environments, built specifically to keep proprietary data and personal information inside the organization where it belongs. And then people keep using public AI anyways. It's not because they're reckless, but because the tool they already know, it feels faster, it feels familiar, and honestly, might even feel safer, even when the data tells a completely different story. A policy gets written, an AI acceptable use policy. Now that document exists, the boundaries are defined, but the behavior doesn't fully change. So what's actually happening here? Public AI didn't earn that trust by accident. Technology companies have spent years shaping what people believe about convenience, innovation, and reliability. Public AI feels very intuitive, it feels proven. And when something feels that natural, a policy document telling you to use something else isn't going to move that needle much. That's the first problem. Internal tools get deployed, they don't get communicated, and that's a real difference between those two things. The second problem here is how the policy gets delivered. One-way information transfer. That would either be maybe a memo, an email, a Slack message, maybe a PDF in a shared drive. It rarely produces behavioral change organizations are really looking for. People don't follow policies because they receive them. They follow policies they understand and believe in. And here's what I keep coming back to. When a policy relies on individual judgment, when the guidance itself is essentially, well, just be careful with sensitive data, you build compliance on discretion. That is not policy. What you're building there is that's hope. So what does a communication-centered approach actually look like? First, stop treating internal AI rollout as a deployment event and start treating it as a campaign. Internal users need to know what the tool does, why it's safer, what's it protecting. Not just for the organization, but for them personally. People respond to personal stakes. Lead with that. Second, build feedback into the process. One of the reasons public AI tools feel so trustworthy is that they're responsive. They improve, they feel like someone's listening. Internal tools that get deployed and never updated sends the opposite message. Create a channel where users can report friction, request features, and see that their input actually shapes the product. That's how you build trust in a tool. You earn it the same way public AI did it, by being useful and by being present. Third, reframe the acceptable use policy. Right now, most AUPs read like restriction documents. Here's what you can't do. That's prohibited. Here's the risk you're creating for the company. You could try flipping it. Communicate the AUP as a protection framework. Here's what we built to protect you. Here's why it matters. Here's why and how it makes your work safer and your data is yours. That reframe changes how people receive the policy, and how people receive a policy shapes whether they will follow it. The organizations that successfully navigate AI adoption aren't just the ones with the best engineering or the tightest policies. They're the ones that communicate the why behind both. Because communication policy doesn't work when it only lives in a document. It works when it lives in the culture. And culture isn't built through compliance memos. It's built through communication.